In this episode,
I guess kind of fuck-ups are more interesting for people. So I'll start with that. When I was a Scrum Master, it was like, yeah, Scrum is important. Agile is something that will help you grow your business and so on and so on. But when I chose the product path, it's like, that's not super important, to be honest. This is one of the things that I hate about Scrum because there's just name for stakeholders. For me, customers are not stakeholders. Customers are customers. Like, their number one goal, they're paying for your service. They finance your whole company. Customers are way important than the CEO. They're not on the same level. If I'm saying no, I'm trying to provide some explanation. No matter who that is, I'm trying to provide an explanation because from the also psychology, if you're providing an explanation, it's easier to accept. But if somebody comes up with an idea or whatever, the first thing I'm always asking, like, if it's more of a gut feeling or you have some data to back it up.
welcome to Pragmatic Talks, a podcast and video series where we discuss startups, contemporary digital product development, modern technologies, and product management. We believe that everyone should have equal access to knowledge about product development and entrepreneurship, and also everyone should have the opportunity to apply it in pursuit of making our world a better place. Through this series, we aim to create an impact on the future world. In today's episode, we welcome Karol Kłaczyński. I've met Karol a few years ago at one of the Agile conferences, and just after first 10 minutes of our discussion, I already knew that I am talking with most probably one of the best product manager I ever spoke to. Karol is a former Agile coach and Scrum Master, but for the last few years his focus was mainly on product management. Currently he is working as a head of product at Brand24, a tool offering media monitoring services on the internet and one of the most recognizable startups in the Polish scene. Today we are going to talk about product management and development, as well as tools and methods such as continuous discovery habits that Karol is successfully using in his day-to-day work. Please welcome Karol Kłaczyński. Welcome in the next episode of Pragmatic Talks. Today our guest is Karol Kłaczyński, the head of product at Brand24. It's a pleasure to have you here. It's great that you agreed to join us in this episode. Welcome.
Thanks for the invitation. In the first place, I'm also really happy to be here.
So, like a standard first question that we always have, like, who is Karol Kłaczyński and what is your story?
Currently, as you said, I'm head of product at Brand24. I've been in the IT for more than 10 years now. My story started as a business analyst, so something that is also useful when it comes to product work. But then I moved to various different roles. I did some testing. I did some sales as well. I was also a Scrum Master for a few years. But then I decided that there's something new I should do, and that was the product world. So I joined the product world a few years later. I think it was like 3-4 years ago, something like this. And I must admit, like, that's the place I'm really happy that I'm in, and I want to pursue this path now.
So just to tell you how I met Karol, like, I don't know, 2 years ago or something like this.
Probably more.
Probably even more. It was at some conference or unconference, and when I met you, I thought that, okay, this guy maybe do not have a lot of experience in product management yet. He has a lot of experience in IT and all, but the mindset that you already had at this time, and then when we met like a couple of times later, I've noticed that your knowledge about product management, product-oriented mindset, it was something that was impressive, and this is actually why I decided to invite you here. So I'm sure that this conversation will be very effective, very dense in terms of the product oriented stuff. And I'm sure that people who will listen it will learn a lot. But before we'll jump into the product, could you tell us more about the Brand24?
Brand24 is, simply speaking, a platform that helps you monitor the internet. For example, if you want to know what's happening, what is being said about your brand, usually about brand, but also some kind of topics or influencers or a specific person that you're interested in. Let's say pragmatic coders would like to know, okay, what's happening about pragmatic coders in the net, right? So this is where we jump in. So we're helping companies to get to know really what's happening. also providing some analysis, like as we call it, a stream of mentions, right? So who said what about, for example, pragmatic coders, but also do people talk positively or negatively about pragmatic coders, or if there's like no sentiment at all. So it's just more informative. We also tend to use more AI nowadays.
Okay.
You know, it's a hot topic, right? Everywhere.
We're going there. Yeah.
Okay, we're going there. But, you know, we started doing this before it was popular. So we're doing a lot of that, like for topic analysis, for example, to help you get to know, not only using your own mind to see what's happening there, but also extracting the essence and saying, for example, okay, when it comes to pragmatic coders, one of the main topics is, I don't know, good quality software, stuff like this, right? And a lot of different things that are helping our customers worldwide, because we have customers like all over the world, which I'm really happy about, because this is a Polish company, right? And I'm always happy when a Polish company is really well known worldwide and helping customers everywhere, basically.
Yes, that's great. So could you tell us a little bit more about those customers? So what type of companies are there? Like small companies, bigger brands? Who is the customer of Brand24?
All of them, really.
Okay.
Like even specific people. If you have a huge company, it's probably not the CEO of a company. If you have a smaller company, probably it will be a CEO, because as you probably know, the more company grows, and the more departments you have,
Yes.
and the more specialized you become, right? So with bigger companies, we usually work with marketing departments, marketing PR specialists, people that are more interested in those topics. When it comes to smaller companies, probably we work usually with the C-level, as we call them, or an agency. Sometimes we work also with marketing agencies. So with marketing agencies, usually everyone is working with Brand24 because they just tend to do all the analysis for their customers.
Okay, so tell us more about how Brand24 works from the inside. Like, how big is the company? How big is your team? What you are working on?
Yeah, so currently, I guess we have around like 80 or 90 people cooperating with Brand24. And my teams, as we can call them, because I think it's hard to call them like my team, right? Because everyone is working to make the product better. The development teams, let's say they're development teams. However, I like to call them product team. And there are three. And this is something that might be not typical for, let's say, a typical Scrum person, because you tend to have, we have to have feature teams. We have to focus on that. But it really depends on the technology and generally how your product looks like. So we have teams that are more like on the front side, closer to the customer itself. We have a team that focuses on getting the data. And we have a separate team that works on research and development, mainly focusing on machine learning and AI algorithms.
Okay. So not classic Scrum cross-functional teams, but rather not even component teams, like just layers that you're working on?
A bit like layers or components, something like this. But, of course, if there's a possibility to do the feature end-to-end, we're trying to do this. But because the data area is so complex and the front is also complex itself, this is why we are not doing this like end-to-end, because there's a vast amount of knowledge around those two topics that we decided that it has to be specialized for now, right? It might always change in the future, but for now it works like this.
When you were talking about it, I was thinking, I had in the front of my eyes, I had the Spotify model. Yeah? Like, why? So not because you are copying or something like this, but rather like the biggest misconception in Spotify model was that they designed their organization structure in that way and then they follow it, etc., etc. It wasn't that way. It was actually other way around. That actually the organization structure developed from the structure of the code base of the product that they have. And as you mentioned, you did actually the same. That the structure of your product, that actually the organization structure followed the structure of your product.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Are you using any, let's say, agile frameworks, methods like Scrum, for example, that we already mentioned, or maybe figure out something more, something better?
That's a tough question because generally, some time ago, when I was a Scrum Master, it was like, yeah, Scrum is important and Agile is something that will help you grow your business and so on and so on. But when I chose the product path, it's like, that's not super important, to be honest, right? Because what we need to do is to create a product that meets the needs of the customers, right? That customers are willing to pay for, basically, right? So the question is how to do such a product. And one of the answers is, okay, quick testing and so on and so on and so on. Scrum probably helps a bit, for example, with quick deployments, quicker iterations and so on and so on. But this is just a tool. It's like 10-15%, like the development process, 10-15% of the product work, in fact, right? So if started focusing more on the product side rather than the just development and implementation side, we're using something like Scrumish, we can call it.
Okay.
So we're taking the elements that are helping us, and if there's something that does not help us or we think that might help us, okay, we're taking it. But it's not like, yeah, because Scrum Guide says, like, absolutely no. I don't think it's a good way to do anything. And if we find our way to do something better, then we just test it, okay, and we see does it work or not. If not, okay, let's pull back and check something else.
That just confirms my my theory or observation that I have from the last couple of years, that the crucial part in product development is product management. And if we have like a great product management and great product managers on board, then everything else doesn't matter as much as good product management. And product manager need to solve the vision. People need to know that vision, need to follow that vision, deliver it, and figure out what is the best way to achieve the goals and to realize those visions.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. As a Scrum Master, I've been working with bad product owners, and the development teams were really good ones. They were really smart people. But if you have a bad product owner, like I'm not saying that those people were like stupid or something. No, absolutely not. They were smart, but there are certain elements of being a product person that help the company grow. And those people didn't have that, right? For example, one of them, he was always saying yes. Huge corporation, and it's really tough to say no, right? But when you're a product person, you're saying yes to everything, that's going to end badly. It's very badly.
Yes.
And everyone was frustrated, right? If you have a really good product person and the developers who are not yet good, from my experience, they can become good developers. They can become good programmers. And even if I don't know, it's going to take time, until this time, you'll create enough value to get more people to help you develop the others, right? I totally agree that product management is super important. Probably one of the most important.
I would even say that the most important thing, but okay, let's leave it here.
Yeah, I'm a product. Yeah, it's a head of product, so I'm personally tough to say. Okay, that's the most important.
I'm already brave enough to tell it, even if our company is selling. What actually is our value proposition is product management, and then on the top of that, we add some developers who are also great and are also very product oriented, and like we are already with the top level product management, top level developers. We are already starting with the top level place, on the landscape, but that's not about it. Regarding running Brand24 and your role, so what actually is your role? Like, or maybe start somewhere else. You started Brand24 as a product manager, like a
product manager, product owner, however we call it,
whatever. And now you're head of product. So what has changed in your job in those last year when you were like promoted to head of product? What changed?
Yeah, I started with one team. Because I was still, let's say, young. I didn't have that much experience, and this was a new company. There was a lot of uncertainty, right? So it was like, okay, let's start with one team. Let's see how it goes. And it went pretty well. So in time, I started working with more teams directly because I was working with everyone right from the start, basically, right? C-level, so CFO, like CTO, CEO, and so on and so on. With the marketing team, with the marketing automation, with the customer success team, because they are directly working with the customer. So I'm super interested in that.
Mm-hmm.
So I started working with more development teams, product teams, let's call them. That's one thing that changed. And in time, I'm also trying to be on the more strategic level. So I'm building the product strategy now. The vision and the mission was always there. But the product strategy was not that well said, directly said. Brand24 knew where we're going, but it's good to also have it in some kind of a document, because you can always raise questions like, right, if someone is reading those things, is it really something that we want to do strategically, right? So it's also a good document to ask questions to yourself or to the others, and maybe find the spots, like the weak spots or something that we have to make a decision somewhere. So I'm going a bit on a more strategical level, we can call it.
Okay.
Right, from working on only or mostly on a daily basis with development teams.
Okay, so you're still working with development teams.
Always.
Are there any product managers, product owners aside of you?
Not really. The team that is working on the product itself, aside from programming, there's a product marketer, product marketing specialist, and UX designer. This is also the team that is working on a product. This is more like a team, let's say, directly underneath me or partly underneath me.
Okay.
But generally, I do not have product managers that are reporting directly.
Mm-hmm.
If you can say so. I'm trying to give part of this responsibility to the product teams. It's not like that I'm the only one coming with ideas and so on and so on, but the product itself is a joint responsibility of all product teams. So this also makes my job easier, right? Because I do not have an army of people underneath me to make sure that development teams are doing exactly what I'm telling them to do, right?
You mentioned the strategy document that caught my attention. So could you tell us more about this strategic document? How should it look like, or how does it look like in your case?
I'm doing this more like okay, this is what I feel that strategic document should be. There are lots of books, lots of materials, what should be there, what should not be there.
This is why I'm asking, because I've read a lot of books and I've seen different contradicted opinions on how the strategy should look like.
I think there's no one answer.
Yeah.
Yes, right? It really depends. If it helps you drive your direction, if it helps you cut a lot of decisions and stop doing some things that are taking your time but are not getting you closer to your goal, that's good, I guess. And that's the answer I can give you, right? So for example, if you put in your strategy document, for example, what your company or what your product is not for sure, that's a good start.
Or for whom it is not for.
Exactly, right? So let's say if you have some buyer personas, right? And you say, okay, we had 10. That's quite a lot.
Yes.
Right? Let's cut it to 5. This, and that. We're not interested in those. We need some research, or we generally believe, even if you're just believing, because in product management, not everything can be tested and so on and so on. Sometimes it's just a gut feeling, and we have to live with that. So if you can cut those 5 personas out and focus on the other 5, that's a great start.
So less is more.
Less is more, always.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, especially with the part of defining what the company is not doing, or what the product is not doing, or what the product is not. We did the same a couple of years ago, that we decided, okay, we are, for example, not doing regular outsourcing and pod leasing. And that was, that helped us a lot to focus on the things that matters. Okay, so let's get back to the culture. So Brand24 culture, how would you describe the company culture, and how you're working on the culture? Because I'm pretty sure that as a head of product, you have a huge impact on the company culture.
It really comes from the top. as you say, like as a head of product, I have a huge impact on that. But it's not that I'm coming there and building the culture. The culture was there, and it was created by all the people who are at the top. And we have to agree on that. Like the culture is not coming from the bottom, but it's always coming from the top, right?
Mostly. At the end of the day, the top down will win.
Yes, exactly, right? So it's really hard to start from the bottom. So it's always like the top has to show how the culture works. And I guess this was something really great because Brand24 is a cool. I would say that the word cool. It's a cool company, right? So everyone's, let's see, more or less on the same level when it comes to talking and discussions. At least with the teams that I'm working with and with the people that I'm working with. So I'm always trying to be quite direct, right? So if somebody comes up to me and says something direct, that's fine. I'm talking directly to them, no matter if they are CEO or if they are someone from the customer support team, the customer success team. Like that's basically the same from my point of view. What I really also like to show that everyone has vote. Like everyone can come up with the problem they're suggesting. Everyone can come up with some initiative and so on, which helps a lot because, for example, we were introducing one of the features. We thought, this is going to be great. Like this sounds like value for our customers. We also discussed this with customers a bit. And on the backend developers, usually people that would imagine, okay, somewhere in the basement probably. Right, there's sunlight. Well, what's that, right? No, I'm joking, of course. But not someone that you would imagine is a product, strictly a product person. He said, you know what? I think that's too good for some of the customers. Like that's super valuable. Maybe you can limit that at least for the trial version. Like because why should we just give it for free? It's like, you know what? That's a great idea. Let's do that. And we did. I think this is showing that, guys, we are all part of the product. It's not like, I remember during one of the interviews for product role, there was a question, how do you come up with ideas of next product features or improvements? Why? It's a question only to me. It's a question to everyone. Because everyone can spot a problem as something to solve. We are really lucky that we are also the users and the customers of our own product.
Okay.
That's super comfortable. That's absolutely great because I hear from time to time, it's like, guys, I was using this, like, the UX of this thing of this part is so bad. Why? Because this and that, then we can look into, for example, some recordings, how our regular customers are working with our product. We can verify some data, like how many customers are using this in fact. So is it worth solving? Stuff like this. But this can come up from everyone. Customer success team as well, they're looking to the customers. Customers are coming to them and asking for help or saying, hey, like we didn't get that. It's like, cool, guys, like that's good that you're telling this, right? But for example, the important is do not tell us what customers told would be a great feature. Tell us what are the problems of our customers, right? Because behind every feature that your customer is asking for, there's some kind of a problem that is trying to solve. This is the most important thing to us.
So how do you work as a head of product, or maybe as a whole team? How do you work with your users, with your customers, to figure out what's the best for them next?
I would say that there are two things that we have to distinguish. One of is the qualitative and the quantitative distinction, let's say. When it comes to quantitative, we're taking a look at the data analytics. We have a lot of analytics, and I'm super happy we have that, really, because when I joined Brand24 and I asked, okay, how does the basic funnel looks like? Coming from each of the pages, like from sign up until sales. And Michał Sadowski, our CEO, said, hey, give me 3 minutes. And he sent me a link, here you have. Like, wow, that's impressive. You have all of that, like, because in the previous company, this was really tricky and we had to build the analytics. it was all there. Maybe not all, but lots of that was there. So this is one thing. And we're trying to, if we have an idea or we, for example, discuss something with customers, because I'm trying to take part in some customer meetings. No matter if it's a sales meeting, somebody has some feedback, or I'm doing an interview, because we're trying to do a lot of interviews. So if we see that, for example, there's a customer talking to the customer success team, and they're asking for some kind of a feature, I'm trying to be, okay, let me talk to them. So we're scheduling some calls with our customers, and I'm trying to get what's the problem, what is the underlying issue, what are their goals. I'm not sure if you've read Continuous Discovery Habits by Teresa Torres.
Yep.
Generally, this is what we're trying to do.
Okay. So mainly meeting with clients, with customers as often as possible, and learning from them. So what type of questions do you ask? Like, because I know that asking the questions like, okay, dear client or dear customers, what is your main problem? It's one of the worst case questions you could ever ask. Yeah?
How much you would pay for it?
How much will you pay? I'm doing this right now with my startup, but whatever. Yeah, but yeah. So like asking them like the questions like, what is your problem, is not the best question. So what questions do you ask to your clients?
It really depends on what you're trying to achieve, but there is also a great podcast, Lenny's podcast. I'm pretty sure familiar with that, with Teresa Torres, and she gave a really great example. Try to focus on factual questions and giving a specific time period. For example, starting with, when was the last time you did something?
Okay.
So, for example, in Brand24 case, this would be, when was the last time you reported to your boss, right? Or in the last month, how many times did you report something from Brand24 to your boss? Or generally concerning the marketing of your product or your brand to your boss. This is something that gives you first the information, if they even do that, how frequently, and then you can follow up on those questions, right? So what's in the report? What kind of questions the last time were asked by your boss? What he was thrilled about? What he was shocked about? Right? So giving really the facts that are, this is something that interests me the most, because I can see how frequently something is, how frequently a problem occurs, if it pays off, like how much time do people spend to solve this problem, and what are the aha moments.
I'm smiling because you're calling it problem, which is like, how often did you talk to your boss last month or whatever? Talking to a boss is a problem. Okay, for your users. Okay, I understand it. Like for some marketing person, that could be a problem to actually go and report to the boss. Yeah.
However, okay, let's call it an opportunity.
Yeah. A challenge or whatever. Yeah. Okay, you told already about the analytics. So what's the what data do you collect? Like what data you are basing your decision on? Like you already mentioned like a funnel, but maybe you have like another significant data that are quantitative methods to make decisions to figure out what to do next.
I guess first we're trying to start with the qualitative data. Because it narrows down what you're looking for, right? So if we see that when we discuss or we try to ask for feedback, our customers, and they are saying, "Oh, they didn't know it's possible," right? So there's a small light bulb over our heads. I think, okay, this is something to look for, and then, for example, we will be looking for the usage of the specific, feature or place in the application over a month compared to other places, right? So it really depends on what our customers are saying and what are our business or functional goals in a given moment. Because you cannot analyze everything at a given time, right? It just doesn't pay off. It's not even possible physically at the moment.
Yeah, maybe with AI.
Maybe with AI.
Yeah, who knows?
Buzzword again. Yeah, but the important thing is also like when we talk about strategy, right? What's the next goal when it comes to business? For example, if we say that we want to limit the churn rate in our app, churn, so the number of customers that are leaving our app, then I would go and see, okay, like what are the main points? I would try to talk to those people, but churning customers is really, really hard to get to talk to. But then I would say, I would look, okay, what is the common element of the churning customers or the customers that are not churning, right? So maybe there's something great about that our customers who are not churning do, but those that churn, they are not doing this, so they don't see enough value, right? So then I would take a look at this kind of data. If I have enough, and I don't know, maybe it's like the stickiness, for example, of the app. So you say that the customers that are spending on average in our app 5 minutes a week, let's say, because in every company, in every app, it's going to be different because some apps are used weekly, monthly, every quarter, or daily, right? So depending on what you're doing, let's say it's 5 minutes a week. So if a customer is at least 5 minutes a week in your app, the possibility that they will leave is lower, I don't know, by 30% compared to those that are less than 5 minutes. Then, okay, our next goal is to increase the number of accounts, increase the number of customers that are weekly longer than 5 minutes by 50%, let's say. Right? So then you're trying, okay, what are the functional goals that you have to meet? And you drill down, and then you analyze that.
So this is the work that you are doing together with your team, or this is the work that you do together with your, UX designer, product marketer, with everyone?
Okay, everyone. Like it really depends on what we're looking at. We have also, let's say, a small team that is analytics team. So they are helping a lot. I'm also trying to do this with customer success to get a bit more the qualitative data. I'm working with the CLO because they've been in the industry for years, so they know a lot. But I'm also asking my development team, a UX designer, the product marketing specialist. So UX designer and product marketing specialist was usually someone from our three is taking part in the customer interviews. So they're also providing information from those customers, especially if they find out something interesting.
Do you follow any structure, any framework? Like, you are meeting weekly or something, you have some specific time?
As much as possible. However, my goal is to meet with at least one customer, personally, meet at least once a week.
Once a week, one customer?
Once a week, at least.
That's pretty often. I would say that many product managers I know, if they ever met their customer, it's a success. But if they do this like monthly or quarterly, it's great.
When I started this, because I started working with customer success team a lot, and when I started this, and I really they really helpful, like for 2.5 months. It was really like every week. Then I guess, I don't know, because it was like vacation period or something like this, for probably a month and a half, it was way tougher, so maybe once 2 or 3 weeks. But now it's coming back. So, for example, I think last week I had I attended 3 calls with customers. And of course, they are different calls. Some are about the feedback about specific features. Some are things like taking part in the sales calls to discuss something more technical or stuff like this. But I'm trying to always include a bit of interviewing in each of those calls. So I guess we're getting back on track, and at least once a week is absolutely possible.
Yeah, like this customer success team, product marketing. You started the podcast recently.
Yeah.
I've listened to your first episode 2 days ago. It was 2 days ago since we are recording it when it will be published. So I'm pretty sure there will be more than one episode. But that episode was great. You had a great interview with your head of marketing. Could you tell us more about, wrap the things up, how your cooperation with marketing look like, and how do you think it should like for any product company or any other company?
I think what Christina, our head of marketing, said in this podcast is really important, is that we should go into the same direction. Giving the marketing information or generally providing the communication about the product, because this is their goal, right? That has to be consistent with the product itself. If we are building a knowledge platform, right? And they are communicating this to our customers as an insurance. So we're trying to get as many people to use Brand24 as during the week as much as possible. But then we communicate this as an insurance. So insurance is something that you do not use every day, right? Those are different directions. So I guess the strategic alignment is super important. Like that's the basic thing. And when it comes on to like daily work, I guess it's just including people that are from the marketing. As I said, we have a product marketing specialist who is a kind of a bridge. But I'm also talking a lot to our to Justina, our head of marketing, for many reasons. One of them being because she's in fact in our company our main customer. As a head of marketing, she's the main user, the main heavy user of what we're doing. So if something bothers her, there's a high probability that it might also bother other head of marketings, so our other customers.
We are saying hello, Justina. I'm pretty sure that you will notice that we are talking about Brand24 in your tool and probably as well.
Yeah, probably. I know. I think that probably it's if you type Brand24, probably it's going to be in the description, maybe somewhere in the title on YouTube. So I guess Brand24 will pick it up and show it in project that
perfect
she's maintaining.
You can send us some screenshots so we'll add it to the episode later on.
Absolutely.
In the show caption. So this working with marketing. So how do you work? So is it in a way that the marketing is promoting the features that you already developed, already released, or is it more like a marketing is building some pressure or some attention about what you are going to release and you have some deadlines, or it's later like as I said first, product led, or it's more like a marketing led, or maybe this sometimes both, where you are using marketing to test some hypothesis?
I would give you a good consultant's answer. It depends. Yes, exactly. No, but really it depends. We had some time when it was a bit tricky because we started doing new things quite fast, which was pretty surprising for marketing sometimes. So I was posting in internal channels, hey, we just released that. It's like, hey, would be good to know, like at least 2 days before that you're planning to do something like this. So now we have established our own ways of communicating. We're trying to give some updates in advance that, hey, in the next few days, we're planning to release this. It's going to look like that. So sometimes it's like on the spot when something is released, we're providing some insights, but there are lots of things that we're releasing. So now we're switching a bit. And of course, when it comes to the features, something new comes up, we put it like, we have a changelog, something like to promote or generally inform our customers that something new came up that they can use. And that's one thing. Of course, internally, that's the first place where we're letting everyone know that something comes up. Sometimes we're using early access options. So for a limited number of customers, test some kind of an MVP to see if this is something that they would like to use or something that gives them value. If not, okay, we had one, for example, solution that was AI based. But generally, like when I took a look at that after we did it, it was okay. Probably that's not our strategic goal at the moment. And it was just an MVP. A few customers use that, even if they say, "Oh, okay, that's nice." We said, "Okay, we're not doing this anymore." So the early access is sometimes used, and I guess also remarketing many things is also possible because there are so many things in Brand24 happening now that even after months, customers still do not know about some of the things. We're trying to cover it up. One of the things, for example, the last quarter, what we did, we're trying to also switch into more need-based. So instead of just promoting features, we're saying, hey, for example, the end of the quarter is coming up, so probably you would like to do some kind of a summary for your boss or for your customer, this is what you can use and how.
Okay.
In Brand24 to make it quick, to make it look nice, stuff like this. So more like need-based marketing rather than feature-based marketing. And sometimes there are things that we have to do because of the deadline, like the Black Week preparations that we did this year. So this was something that, okay, I don't like roadmaps or timelines personally because this is very project-oriented. Product is not a project.
Yeah.
But it happens, right? There's some fairs or stuff like this that you have to prepare for. So this is something, okay, that's a timeline based, but everything else, we'll do this in our own pace to bring the value. And then we know sometimes how to market it upfront because part of the marketing is in-app, right? So it's not purely marketing, but it's also the code. So for example, if something big comes up, we were testing how to communicate with our customers in-app. We have some small successes, some things that were, okay, this should have worked, but it didn't. Moments as well. So we're also learning how to communicate with our customers.
So could you tell us, give us some example of things that were, let's say, the most surprising for you as a product manager? Like you figure out that, okay, we have this brilliant idea to do it, this and that, and after you release it or after you started testing it one way or another, it occurs that the users are totally not interested in that, or oppositely, like something that was surprising for you.
Yeah, I guess kind of fuck-ups are more interesting for
both stories are interesting
for people. So I'll start with that. When I joined Brand24, there was already a huge project of rebuilding part of the application, the main part, from old technologies into React. React, GraphQL, stuff like this, to make it more developable, call it.
Okay.
So it can be easily improved in the future, which was not the case with the old app, but also to make it do better. So one of the things that we did was that we had this old view with the huge graph with the number of mentions and the sentiment of the mentions. Because it was discussed with some kind of UX agency, we made it smaller and put it on the right. And we did A/B tests. And the beginning was like, yeah, it's like they're more or less selling the same, so that's good, we can move to the new one and so on. And we did, but then it turned out the old panel was selling better than the new one. It's like, damn, what went wrong? And the thing about this A/B test was that one of the mistakes, probably the mistakes that we did, however, we were lucky enough that we more or less knew what to correct. But with the huge A/B test, the problem is that if a lot of things are changing, you don't know which one is the most important to change, right? We felt that it was the graph. So we created a new version of this new panel with a huge graph in the middle instead of a small graph on the right. And it worked. So it turned out, like, this is another thing that we thought what was happening, and then it turned out that a year later, something like this, that what we thought was what impacted, what was the thinking behind, what was behind the scenes in our customers' heads. And what was really, we were also probably mistaken, because we thought, okay, probably our customers want more analytics. Right?
You made an assumption based on some...
Yes, because they wanted a huge graph and so on and so on. So we did another test, and we put some more data around this graph, and it turned out that it didn't change anything.
Okay.
Probably because, and this is something that we still think, it's not like people want more analysis there, but people want to know more or less what's happening, if it's going bad or not. And this graph is giving exactly this information.
Just having one metric that show them where we are, and then if it's wrong, then they're diving deeper.
Giving one picture, right? So I'm going in within 3 seconds, I know if there's something I should do or not.
Like I can check it every day and then make a decision if there is something that I should.
If I can sleep well and just dive into analysis, or I should jump in because there's a fire.
Yeah, there's a fire. Yeah. So this is one of the feedback loops that you are using at
Correct.
Brand24. Are there any kinds of feedback loops that you are using? How short are they, or how long they are? And how often do you learn about your product, about your audience, or maybe you're doing somehow continuously?
Yeah, we're doing this kind of continuously. With some things, you can spot the difference right away. When it comes to the usage, for example, usage is one of the things that we really strive for. It's really the question, what kind of metrics you set up a bit of upfront that you thought should be going up or going down, right? So, for example, when we were doing some UX changes, we then decided to verify in one of the analytics tools. Okay, if the number of dead clicks was lower, because this is one of the goals, because we saw, okay, there are a lot of dead clicks, things looking like buttons, but not clickable. So this is something that we would like to get limit. And it turned out that, yes, we did. Okay, cool. But of course, some things like this always need time. We're trying to use more, let's say, short testing solutions now, like fake doors. Right?
My favorite.
But that's absolutely great, right? So creating a button that generally does nothing, but tells your customer that, hey, there's an option to do that, right? So seeing if people are clicking this or not. So this is a very short look. Really depends on what we're trying to achieve. And if this is something that we can quickly develop, because if there's something that we can quickly develop, like that's a probably no-brainer, just do it and see how it works. If there's something bigger, of course, we're trying also to see what our customers are asking for, understand their business cases, because sometimes it's like, okay, a few customers asked about this, but this is so universal that other customers can use this as well. Maybe in other things, right? Let's do this. We're trying to balance the testing because you cannot test everything. So we're trying to balance the testing a bit with our gut feelings that are, as business shows, can be very powerful as well, right?
We talk about users. Like they are, as far as I hear, your most important stakeholder.
I do not call them stakeholders. I know that, for example, this is one of the things that I hate about Scrum, to be honest, because there's just name for stakeholders. For me, customers are not stakeholders. Customers are customers. Like, they are number one goal. They are paying for your services. They are paying for your products. They finance your whole company. Other people are also important, but the customers are not one of the groups. Customers are way important than the CEO. They're not on the same level. There are some things that you have to do, and it really depends on the industry that you're working with. Probably in the medical, right? That would be a bit different, because some stakeholders, internal stakeholders, might be a bit more important than the others, and so on and so on. But still, users or customers will be the ones that pay for all of your services, right? They will pay the CEO, they will pay the CTO, CFO, whoever. So like they are number one, and the others are stakeholders.
Okay, so how do you deal with the stakeholders request and stakeholders who are not customers?
Well,
you're saying no.
Sometimes, yes, it happens. You also have to balance to whom you can just say no. But no matter what, I'm always trying to, if I'm saying no, I'm trying to provide some explanation. If it's someone from the customer success team, if it's someone from the marketing operation, or it's the CEO, right? Like, no matter who that is, I'm trying to provide an explanation, because from the also psychology, if you're providing an explanation, it's easier to accept. But if somebody comes up with an idea or whatever, the first thing I'm always asking, like, if it's more of a gut feeling, or you have some data to back it up, or you can get some data quickly to back it up. This is the first thing I'm trying to ask those people for, because I have lots of things, like number of ideas that we can implement is infinite. Really, like, especially if you have 3 teams, there's no way that we can do everything. And even if we did, it would be a total spaghetti. Right? Both for our customers and code base. So no, we're not doing this. So I'm asking, like, guys, I have lots of things and I need to make decision what's the most valuable at the moment. So to do this, I need your support. I need your help. And if you think this idea is great, please try to convince me. Probably with data. That would be the best. And sometimes you have to discuss a bit more that, okay, like I know that you know the market, but maybe we can check if somebody is very persistent, then I'm trying to find the data on my own. Or if I know that I'm talking to someone who has access to customers, like, okay, please ask 5 people this question and let's see what they answer. Basically it.
Okay, so data are crucial. What about risk? What about taking risks? Because sometimes you might not have the data, but you see that there is some opportunity, and how do you deal with taking risk, and how do you manage the risks?
In my head.
Okay.
That's a quick response. No, but I'm trying also to discuss this with a few people, saying, hey guys, we would like to test this. Like, what kind of problems do you see? And when it comes to, for example, some development work or the system complexity, because the system is pretty complex. I'm trying to also get to know the system, how it more or less works, and which people to ask if I suspect that there might be some increased risk in some places. So it's like, hey, this is the idea, there's something I want to test. And what I also like to, and I think one of my main goals is to provide the context to the teams. Hey, this is how our customers work. This is how frequent they are using usually the app. This is their goal, and so on and so on. So talking about the customer context, what are we striving to solve? And then, hey, what kind of risks do you see? Because I can see this. Some people can see other risks. And then, basing on this information, it's basically my responsibility, my decision. This is what I'm paid for, right? To also take the risk.
Take the risk.
Be responsible for them, and if they become real and they become harmful, that's my responsibility.
Great. So taking the risk is one thing. Before you mentioned that you are taking a lot of ownership for all the decision. You have like a huge empowerment from all the stakeholders to make decisions on your own. So how hard it was to actually get this, like to work on that and to get to the point where actually the stakeholders trust you, even with their own stakes, their money at the end of the day, and that you can make this kind of decision, take the risk on behalf of them.
That is hard, to be honest. I guess, at least not from my point of view, I guess you would have to ask probably Michałowski, how hard was it to give it away?
Okay.
From my point of view, like, I really love solving those things. That's one of the things that why I feel that I'm in a good place. I'm jumping into those problems and trying to solve them. Maybe this is one of the things that convinced C-level in Brand24 to make it, for me to make it possible to take more ownership. Maybe that's the answer.
So do you think that the fact that you actually started behaving as you actually had this ownership before they promoted you made an impact?
Maybe. It's hard to answer this because...
Is that a question for you?
It's not a question. Yeah, it's not a question to me. Okay. I just started doing what I love and what I feel was the most valuable for the company and what was the best direction. And I guess I was given quite a lot of trust at the beginning. And I hope I use this trust properly.
Okay, so one more question about the product itself. So the product is growing, like every year, every quarter, you're adding new features. New functionalities. There are more and more users using it.
Correct.
The company value is growing. It is.
Generally, yes.
I have some stocks. I see it.
I can't tell you anything.
No. I don't want to know. I'm happy with what's going on. I don't need to know the details. But yeah, the company is growing. The product is growing. How to keep the product user-friendly when it's growing, when adding new features, when changing a lot? Like, I know that people, like many people, most of the people, they actually do not like changes. So how do you manage to grow the product, change it very often, actually, and still keep users happy and work on a low churn?
If you're changing something that is helping them, they are totally okay with that. right? So there are some, we're not striving to change the processes of our customers. We're trying to find the spots that, for example, they spend a lot of time on, but still we provide more or less the same value, just quicker. So generally saving their time. Or we're providing new things that might help them. So, automating the analysis, if they're sending reports to their bosses or to their customers, then we say, okay, you do not have to do this by hand now. You can do this automatically. Wow, cool, that's great. So we're not trying to change the behavior of our customers. We're trying to use it, embrace it, and support it. Of course, we're adding lots of stuff, which also can make the whole, application a bit messy and so on and so on. We also analyze the touch points with our app. And we are pretty careful when it comes to changing the parts that are the most used, right? Because usually you have parts that are most used, most frequently, all the time, and so on and so on. And you're trying to be pretty careful there because, as you say, it can become frustrating. Again, the good thing that we are also users of our own software. If we see that it's getting messy, like, oh man, this is not usable anymore. We have to do something about this, and then we do something about it.
So, are you using internally a development version, like the version under development, not released yet?
As well, we have the versions, but they're changing constantly. But we're trying to use more production version. As I said, we also have some things that are on early access. Early access always available internally to check something, especially when it comes to marketing department. And give us the first feedback. But we are also using this for our own purposes as well.
Cool. I think it's always the best to use your own product and to feel how does it feel.
That's a huge difference. Absolutely huge difference.
Let's talk about the team. I know that you are also spending a lot of time on mentoring your people and teaching them, like sharing knowledge with them. Could you tell us a little bit more about this?
I'm trying to think what they might be interested in or what would help. When it comes to the mindset, I guess the mindset is the most important thing to me, and I'm also trying to let them understand myself, what's happening behind the scenes. So this is what I'm usually sharing. The people that I'm working with, they have enough experience, knowledge, and so on. For example, to build their own companies, to build their own startups. Then we have a group of really, really well-trained people who are striving to create the best product possible.
I completely agree with it. I think it was already 5 years ago when we decided at Pragmatic that one of our big, hairy, audacious goal will be to make as many people as possible to leave Pragmatic Coders and start their own businesses. We already managed to grow I think 5 or 6 people and there are a few more who are already working after hours on their products. So about 5 or 6 people who are pretty successful in that and who are running their own businesses who left us and started their own businesses directly after.
There's a saying, I guess it's the saying in the business, right? What if we train our people and they leave us? What if we don't and they stay?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think that this is a mantra that every company founder, every leader in the company should follow every day.
Every good leader.
But I hope that everyone who is listening is at least aspiring to be a good leader. So and hopefully will be or is. That would be great. So let's come back to the product management, to product backlog management and prioritization and the backlog refinement. Like those two topics are very interesting for me and for our listeners as well. How do you prioritize the backlog? You already mentioned data, a lot of user feedbacks. Is there anything else? And one more thing, how do you do this backlog refinement? I mean, you have this idea. How are you turning this hypothesis into the idea of how to implement it?
So what I'm trying to do is also think about our goals. So this is the first filter, really. Like if somebody comes up with an idea, it's like, okay, this is gonna help us with achieving our goals, business, functional, whatever. If not, okay, probably not now. If yes, how? How can we test it quickly? And it's kind of a gut feeling thing. So if somebody comes up like, okay, this might have a huge impact. What do we need to check? And then if you have a lot of granular small things that you want to check for various things, that's usually easier because you can take elements from very different elements or ideas. Lots of them can be checked against the data, right? For example, if you have a process that's, I don't know, adding the product, whatever. If you build a list of elements that must be met for it to work, I can check probably lots of them using the analytics. For example, if it's easy enough to set up a project correctly within, a minute or less, then I just go to the analytics tools and I see, okay, most of the things that must be met, they're fine. So there's just one last thing that I need to test. Small thing. Okay, let's create a backdoor. Let's create some fake door. Stuff like this. We'll be also building soon, or testing, in fact, if we can create some kind of a test or quick question framework to get more quality and data to
in the app.
Yeah, in the app directly. Test quickly within a few days such things to get enough quality data to see if the direction that we're looking at is fine. So in this case, it comes really easy because within, 2 weeks, you can verify 5, 6, 10 ideas maybe even. And probably one of them will be worth implementing in the next quarter. So if out of 10 ideas, you know that one is worth implementing, it's way easier to manage the backlog. So in fact, then the prioritization is way easier.
So getting back to your role as a head of product, how would you describe in 1 or 2 sentences what's your main responsibility, what's your main goal as a head of product at Brand24?
Help our customers achieve their business goals.
Okay.
Basically, like that's what we're trying to do. And this is why I like to really ask them, what are their business goals? Because they have a lot of in common, but sometimes, they differ a bit. But that's the most important thing as a product person. No matter if I'm just a product manager of a part of the of something of a solution, or I'm head of product of everything, I'm really trying to help our customers achieve those goals. And towards the company, I guess the most important thing is to provide this context. Really, what are those business goals, and how would we like to help our customers?
Okay, so are you measuring it somehow, or have you any idea how to measure it?
By sales?
Yeah, at the end of the day, yes.
No, but there are various functional things, and I guess we're getting this a bit granular and looking at that because there's so many customer paths, customer journeys that our customers take that it's really hard to say with one metric, okay, it's going good or not. Even sales, right? If you have good sales or good conversion, it can come up from various different things.
Yeah, like for excellent marketing.
Excellent, for example, and our marketing is really great. It's really doing great job, right? So, for example, the sales is also taking into account the funnel, even if the funnel does not change. If you have 50% more leads, you might have 50% more sales.
Yes.
Or maybe less because more leads.
The quality of sales process.
Process is changing, but still, right? This can come from the marketing. It might not be your thing, right? And the other way, you might have a great product, but if you have 50% less leads, if you have 25% less sales, like, okay, probably the product is doing good because the number of leads is way lower, and we have a bit lower number of sales. But this is very tricky. So I'm trying to focus on the functional goals. For example, if we're recently we did some improvements to YouTube mentions. And the data that we were looking at was more around engagement with those mentions from the YouTube, and they are doing really well. So this is a very direct connection. So this is something. There's no one metric that we're looking at when it comes to product.
Perfect. Okay. So just a few questions at the end. First of all, my favorite about artificial intelligence.
How was surprised?
Yeah. I already told you that we are planning to do like a Christmas special, maybe not this year, but the next year.
Yeah.
With all of the answers for the questions about AI. So how do you think AI will impact product managers' role in organizations in the next couple of years?
That's a tough one. I guess when it comes to building the product and including AI in product offering as well, it will a lot. We see this in our product itself. We're using way more artificial intelligence, even though we were using a lot of AI before, but now it's kind of a game changer in many industries. So it gives you a lot of new possibilities. That's one thing. The other thing is not like, for example, Bitcoin or blockchain. It has a very maybe not specific, but it gives you already some value. Like
at the beginning,
you can easily think, and you already have lots of apps that are basing on the AI and that are providing real value. Like we see this in our product as well, right? So we create, for example, some reports using artificial intelligence, and the customers are saying, "Wow, that's a great summary! Like I can send it to our customer or boss like this, and I don't have to spend the whole day preparing such report." That's absolutely awesome, and I can do this on a weekly basis, so that's great, right? So we can already see how it enhances our product and other products as well. Well, probably if you're following Michałowski's
I do
channel, there was an app that was creating an avatar in a different language. You can see someone that you know, and it sounds like them
speaking
Chinese or German or Spanish or whatever. That's a very huge thing, for example, for webinars, for some kind of an instructional videos, whatever. It becomes super, super cheap. If you have probably, DeepL, that's a translation service, localization in the past, absolutely super huge project to even create the panel or the app in another language, which was huge, really huge. Now, if you have an architecture that is good enough, you can do it within a day.
Yeah, or within hours. Yeah, like just
within hours.
Providing the file, the YAML file, or whatever you use.
Put it back, maybe some quick proofreading because some words can mean different things concerning the context, but still it's super quick, right? In Brand24, we have, for example, two new, maybe not brand new, but we have two language versions. For Spanish and for Indonesian, right? So with Spanish, okay, this is in many areas, but Indonesian, that's not a very common language. However, we have customers from Indonesia that were interested in that, and we did this, and it was pretty quick, right? And this is because of the algorithms, AI algorithms, right? So that's a huge boost to the product itself. When it comes to the product management itself, I know there are a few apps that are currently being developed using AI. Mostly, from what I know, they're mostly focused around feedback, gathering feedback, summarizing feedback, which is really tricky, especially when you talk to your customers on a wiki basis. And not just by yourself, but a group of people. This is tricky to get to the main points of those talks. So AI, I guess, can help here. However, I guess product management is generally there's a lot of gut feeling here. Maybe there are a few things that can help a lot, but I guess the feedback mainly and the analytics. I guess in the analytics it can be helpful as well. instead of like building your own dashboards and so on, which takes time. I can imagine if you can just ask analytics tool, and I guess some already do that. I provide me the analysis of this period concerning this and that, and boom, you have all the answers. That might be powerful.
Yeah. So for this kind like a market research or analyzing your own data, product data as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So aside of the AI, do you think, or maybe you already know, that there are some game-changing tools or methods or approaches to product management out there that you are already following somehow, and you think that they will?
I already mentioned one, and I'm just sticking to that because I guess it really does 80% of the job, and it's continuous discovery and generally product discovery. Everything around is just an addition. Of course, it's a tool, but the principles behind the product discovery itself are so universal, are so general and so helpful. That's like that's the base, and everything else we're coming up ourselves to or we're taking parts from other frameworks or however you call it into our daily work.
So as I mentioned before, when I met you for the first time, you already impressed me with your knowledge and attitude. But later on, when we met a couple of times, I've seen how you grew as product manager. How do you develop your skills? Where are you learning from?
Just as in every product, just try out yourself. Like continuous discovery habits, from my point of view, a must-have book. Inspired by Mark T. Kagan as well. No Rules Rule, a history of Netflix. Interesting. Not everything that I agree with. However, pretty interesting and gives you a different perspective. I guess that also some things around the psychology are interesting. In Poland, we have a guy, a law professor, Marcin Matczak. He's got a really cool podcast. Again, I do not agree with everything he says, but from the psychology, from the philosophy even, he gives a really nice insights. One of the philosophers that I also like and that I feel are helpful in life general, also in product development, is Erich Fromm. And Escape from Freedom. I think his main book, absolutely great. There are lots of materials in the over the internet. Lenny's podcast as well, good source. But again, like, try out yourself. With continuous discovery, I had like my adventure with this book is like I read 4 or 5 pages and it's like, let's try that. I try, then I read another 4 or 5 pages, and then I try new things. And it really also builds the confidence that, hey, if you read something here, there's a huge probability it's really smart. The important thing about product management is that because it's quite a huge responsibility, it's not an easy role, I guess, and it's not for everyone.
Yes.
Because not everyone will feel good about it, and that's fine, right? So not everyone has to be a team leader, not everyone has to be a specialist. Some people are better at managing stuff, some people are better at being specialists. Same with programmers, right? Some of them love digging in the code, some of them would like to more like manage the team and interpersonal, have some feedback. Some people, prefer sales because they feel good around people and they like making deals. Absolutely, right? So if you're watching this video and like you do not feel that it's a place to be, it's absolutely fine. Because sometimes, I was talking with one of the also experienced product managers, and we said that generally product people are really down to earth. Because if the project fails, especially in a huge company, it's like, okay, happened. Let's move on. Let's create another project. But if you have a product company that relies on a product, if it fails, it's the end. That's a much bigger pressure because your decisions impact the whole company, especially on the early stages, right? If you have some buffer and so on, it's easier, it's less risk. But because you're building startups as well, right? I was building my startup some time ago. If you make a mistake, especially late in the development, you might not recover from that. That's a huge pressure.
That's true. I think that is concluding our discussion today. Thank you very much, Karol. It was a great pleasure to host you here.
My pleasure as well.
Where our audience could find you, like how to find you, how to approach you.
Follow me on LinkedIn. I provide some materials there. As you said, I also started my own podcast, Karol Kłaczyński Podcast Produktowy. So you can find it on Spotify and some other platforms as well. So I guess those the two main sources. Usually I also have some lectures on the universities. I'm also a mentor in e-commerce competition for young people.
So if you are young and looking for a mentor, ask Karol. Okay, thank you very much for being here again. Thank all of you for watching it, for listening. It's if you want to help us, subscribe to our channels on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you are listening and watching. That helps us a lot with the algorithms, so we can reach more people and share the knowledge for free to everyone, everywhere, about the product and contemporary startup developments. So thank you very much, and I invite you for the next episodes as well.
Bye.
Pragmatic Talks is delivered to you by Pragmatic Coders, the first choice software development partners for startup founders. Be sure to catch all new episodes. Subscribe to our YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcast channels. And if you are thinking about building your own startup or struggling with product development, contact us and find out what we can do together.